What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Breakdown Sportscast. I'm your good friend and host, Kory Willis. Hope everyone is having a great Friday, getting ready to watch some football this week. Got a lot of great games coming up this week in week 12 of the college football season. So I hope you guys are wrapping up the work week, getting those projects done, and getting ready to partake in the little tailgating and whipping up something up on the grill, of course, as we're winding down the regular season of college football. So overall, I hope you guys are doing well on a Friday out there. As always, guys, we appreciate you all's support with the show. You can find us on multiple streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Amazon Audible, iHeartRadio, and many other streaming platforms out there. So feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to the show. It definitely helps us out. It helps us know what we're doing and how we can improve the show for the future for you all. And we're also meant to mention this as well. We're also on TikTok. Also, so if you want to find us, we're on TikTok, the Breakdown Sportscast. So you can find us on there, and that way you can always listen to a little snippet of our episodes, of course, of the things that me and Chris talk about weekly on the show. So as always, we appreciate you guys' support with the show, and feel free to like and comment. It definitely helps us out, guys, with the show. So we appreciate you guys' support as always. Now, as always, you know who I'm with, guys. I am with my good friend and co-host. You know who he is. He is Chris Bolton. Chris, what is going on, my brother?
Oh man, nothing much, Kory. Nothing much. Another day in the neighborhood. Feeling good. We got us a sneaky slate this weekend. It's not too many high-profile matchups, but we know how college football gets down. The sport that we love so much and have watched throughout our entire life. Just when you least expect it, things can get crazy. Things can get a little crazy. So we'll see. Expect the unexpected. I don't know who's going to get knocked off. I have an idea of who I think will get knocked off, but we'll see. Somebody will get knocked off. I know that much, Kory. It might not look like it on paper, but somebody's going to take an L that we don't expect.
Look, as always here on the show, folks, we are constantly, me and Chris are constantly manifesting things in this sport of college football. Like, look, there's only a couple people that you can trust when it comes to college football. Nostradamustry. I'm just making up words, but it's the football gods out there. it's probably Nick Saban, and it's the guys here on the Breakdown Sportscast that manifest things into fruition. So it is what it is right here. I mean, we gotta toot our own horn, but I get what you mean, Chris. I definitely get what you mean. I got that feeling too.
We have it on top of things, especially with the Georgia Tech over Miami, prediction. We'll see. There will be some chaos this weekend, I believe. It might not be chaos throughout the landscape, but somebody will experience chaos. Their world will be uprooted this weekend.
It'll be flipped. Turn upside down.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. No, this should be an interesting week. Like you said, Chris, there's not many premier games that we have been getting, not like in the previous weeks, of course. But this week definitely has a lot of sleepers, I should say. So, I'm excited to talk about some of these games. Yeah, man, we got a couple that are premier, but definitely a couple that you can say are some sleeper games that might catch a lot of people off guard. So it's great that we can be on this show to talk about it.
Yeah, no, we we definitely have a premiere of what we would have called in the old SEC East matchup. But today's SEC is no longer the SEC East. It pains me to say that, Kory. I'm so used to associate these two teams with the East Division. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to Steve Robinson the other day, and he had mentioned about Kentucky, of course, and like their season so far. And he was like, "Man, I love not having the SEC East now. Like, go ahead and have Kentucky out here really go through the goal." Look, I love Steve, but Steve has a very hilarious bone to pick with the University of Kentucky. I love it.
Ready for that.
Shout out to Steve Robinson. He does some great work on Gene's page.
Yeah, shout out to Steve, a true bulldog through and through. With Kentucky being the team out the East that state would play year in and year out, and we always it's a slept-on rivalry, the Kentucky-Mississippi State rivalry, yes. Kory. but not amongst Bulldog fans, clearly, as you can tell with Steve.
Right. He makes a new meaning of what it's like to be in a rivalry with the University of Kentucky. So I definitely love his promotions that he brings to it. It's great. It's something that any fan from around the country can learn from with their fellow rival on the other side. So
for sure. And the premier matchup of the weekend, these are two SEC East, I'm going to still call it SEC East foes that there's no love lost between the two, Kory, especially not this weekend with what's at stake.
Yeah, and I mean we can go ahead and start, Chris. So yeah, folks. Unless you've been hiding under a rock, of course, these last couple weeks. I mean this is a game that a lot of people have been talking about on and off. We're finally at that point now, Chris, where we can talk about this game. Tennessee heads to Georgia, between the hedges, this Saturday, and this is a game that's a must win. This is kind of reminiscent. Well, I won't even say kind of. It is reminiscent of what we saw last week between Ole Miss and Georgia. One of these teams have to win a ball game, or they're out of the potential playoff hunt. So this game has a lot riding at stake. So yeah, this is going to be a great one. 6:30 kickoff on ESPN ABC. And right now, Chris, Georgia is an 8.5 point favorite, with ESPN's matchup predictor having them at 62.2% to win the ball game this weekend. So, like I said, Chris, a lot is riding on this game. I mean, we've talked about the play with Carson Beck and Nico Iamaleava, like both quarterbacks, who we loved coming into the season. We thought they were going to be on 10 just about every week. Seems like that hasn't been the case for most of the season. Both of these quarterbacks have been dealt with a lot of inconsistency, I should say. I know you've talked about it heavily, Chris, and this is a game that both teams need. One quarterback has to be more consistent than the other. We'll see what happens with Nico in terms of his position. I mean, as we're recording this on a Thursday evening, right now Tennessee, they may be a little bit of showmanship to it, but they have said, the University of Tennessee has said that Nico is kind of like doubtful for the game. So we don't know, as you folks may be listening to the show, maybe things have maybe changed, maybe could be a game time decision. We'll see. But Chris, I'm going to leave the floor to you. In terms of this game, the magnitude of this game, who do you think has the upper edge over who this coming Saturday when it pertains to the magnitude of this game because, man, both of these teams they have really good defenses, but in the end, who do you think is going to stand tall?
Yeah, you. I feel like that 8.5 point favorite for Georgia. Yes, the Bulldogs are at home, but I think a lot of what's baked into that spread is reputation and respect for what the program Georgia is. Because Kory, if we watched a lot of Georgia football this season.
A lot.
That ain't Georgia football that's been getting played.
Nah. This is not Georgia football.
Especially what happened last week in Oxford. And even more so the weekend prior in Jacksonville against Florida. So, yeah, look, Tennessee, whether Nico's playing or not, they will lean on the run game. Mm-hmm. You can count on Sampson to get about 25 carries at least this ball game.
Oh, the guy
Coach Heupel's going on to.
He's a beast.
he's a beast. He's a monster. He'll get the rock. Mm-hmm. Georgia's run defense has struggled this year. It hasn't been just spectacular. And then when you look on the offensive side of things, for sure, they really have not dominated the line of scrimmage like you normally see from Georgia football teams when it comes to establishing the run. And that is necessary against this Tennessee defense. I'm not going to lie to you, Kory. I know Georgia's the favorites. Georgia might. I mean, there's a world where Georgia wins handedly and covers that point spread. I also think there's a world where it could be the opposite, and Tennessee is the one that wins by 9 points. I mean, or more. It's an unpredictable game in the sense of Tennessee has missed out on a lot of deep balls. Like the points have been there for them to get. They haven't connected on those bombs. Georgia secondary is a little susceptible. Florida made some plays downfield against the Dogs, and we saw what Ole Miss did with Jackson Dart, and even to a lesser extent, Austin Simmons, that one series he came in and torched the Bulldogs defense. So, hey, I like what Coach Heupel does. I know it sounds crazy. I think Tennessee goes between the hedges and gets the win. I'm just not seeing it from this year's Georgia team, and that's what I'm judging this team on, how they played this year. Even in the Texans win, Kory, when they scored touchdowns, you can attest to this, it was a short field.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were driving down the field, matriculating the ball down the field and making plays. They were gifted great field position, and, like you would expect any team, they took advantage and scored on a short field. Mm-hmm. This offense has not been consistent enough to just string together long drives and end those drives with touchdowns. And I don't see that happening against Tennessee's defense, which is one of the best units in the nation. Give me Tennessee. Give me the points. Matter of fact, you can go ahead and just say Tennessee just wins outright if you want to. But yes, I'm taking Tennessee to go on the road between the hedges and beat the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I mean that's a bold statement, but it's rooted with a lot of facts, Chris. And no, I definitely get where you're coming from. I mean, yeah, you saw it firsthand. This Georgia team is just not hitting their stride from an offensive standpoint. And when you're late in the season like this and you have big games against the likes of Tennessee, and then you just had that game against Ole Miss, these are teams with really good offenses. Now you can say what you want to say about Tennessee this season and how they've kind of played, but I think they also know when it's time to turn it up a notch or two in a big game, they know pretty much how to respond in proper fashion. I mean, we saw the Alabama game. They took care of business in that game when they needed to. Won that one. Yeah, they lost the Arkansas game, but for the most part, they have been taking care of their business when they've needed to, and I don't think they're gonna go in between the hedges and sleepwalk against a Georgia team that, like, let's call a spade, Chris. I mean, their backs are against the wall. After losing last week in Oxford, their backs are tightly against the wall, and they gotta find something. And I just don't think what we've seen from Carson Beck will be enough to stop this Tennessee team. This defense is stifling. They can get at you. I saw that last week against Mississippi State. They made Michael Van Buren just look like nothing back there. But overall, yeah, I look at Tennessee as a favorite in this game. I think they have a great opportunity to win this ball game outright. And if Nico gets into the game, I think that definitely bodes well. That really bodes well for this Volunteers offense and just team in general. So I'm gonna go with what you're saying, Chris, and yeah, I'm gonna look at them in winning this game outright, and definitely beating the Bulldogs and securing that spot, I think, in the college football playoff moving forward. So yeah, man.
We ain't the only ones. Well, I wouldn't say I'm rooting for Tennessee, but they did. I would say this. Mm-hmm. I think Mr. Sankey is rooting for Tennessee as well, because things will get quite chaotic if Georgia gets to win and we have a plethora of 2 lost teams in the SEC taking place. You need a little separation in the conference to make sure we get all the teams that should make the playoff in the league in the playoff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're right. This is the funny thing right now about the SEC is all of these 2-loss SEC teams out here trying to jockey for position in getting a spot into the SEC championship game. Like, something got to give. I mean, this is why we play the game. And during the season, Chris, these teams are going to beat up on each other, and we're seeing it firsthand that they're beating up on each other. It has to figure itself out, and I think this game is first order of business in terms of figuring it out. So, no, I get what you're saying right now. I'm pretty sure Commissioner Sankey is every day he like logs into his computer. He looks at those standings and he's just like, please, I need chaos. Give me chaos.
No. Hey, chaos is on its way too, man. It's inevitable with this conference, with this league. So yeah, give me Tennessee. Should be a fun game. I'm not going to act like it's impossible. I do want to preference this that Georgia wins this game, but by any means, Georgia can very well come out, take advantage of a Tennessee offense that quarterback is injured or playing hurt, or they got the backup in, can't get a rhythm. Georgia defense is flying around, makes plays, short field position for Georgia, and Georgia goes on to win easily. That is a very realistic scenario. I just don't think that's going to be the one that plays out. But I will say it can happen.
It can happen. And that has been the chatter a little bit, on a lot of sports shows and stuff about this game this week, is that Georgia can turn it on at any time they need to. We've seen it before, Chris. We thought we were going to see it last week against Ole Miss. That just didn't happen. Ole Miss has a heck of a defense. And, they just went after Carson Beck when they needed to. So they were dealt a bad hand in that game. But a game like this, you're back home. You have an opportunity to beat a team like Tennessee. Sometimes, I'm still looking at Tennessee to win the ball game, but it is a little bit in the back of my mind is that Georgia, when they can press the button, Chris, at any point in time and show up and show out. So I'm definitely going to keep that in the back of my mind, but I won't waver on my pick in saying Tennessee potentially has this game just because of what I've seen from Tennessee. It's weird, but it's not Georgia weird. I think when we look at both of these quarterbacks, we definitely see inconsistency from both. But from Carson Beck's point of view, it's just been pick after pick after pick, and I just don't see how
Impressive.
he's very much pressing out there on the field every time that you see him. So I don't see how he gets all of this pressing mystique out of him when he's out there on the field where he's just like overthinking things and overthrowing people and throwing picks and stuff. It's very weird, I should say, but yeah, I definitely will stand by what I said in terms of Tennessee this week. But overall, I'll definitely keep my eye on how Georgia responds this week because this is a big game.
Yeah, no, it definitely is a huge game, and so we'll see because they gotta have it.
Yeah, they gotta
have this.
This is a big.
So we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, but yeah, Chris. Anything else you want to add to this game before we move on to our next game?
Sir.
All right. Well, we can't wait to watch that game. Like I said earlier, it's going to be a 6:30 kickoff on ABC. So yeah. Well, Chris, we're going to go from one SEC game to another SEC game. We got number 21 South Carolina hosting number 23 Missouri. And this game is it doesn't necessarily have any playoff implications to it, but I say it is a Missouri team that is one of those 2-loss teams in the conference. They're just trying, Chris. They're just trying to keep hope alive out there. And I ain't talking about Jesse Jackson keep hope alive. I'm talking about just keep a hope alive for your playoffs. That's what Eli Drinkwitz and company are looking at right now. So the Vegas has the line at 14 points in favor of South Carolina. So South Carolina is a 14-point favorite in this game. And ESPN's matchup predictor, Chris, has South Carolina at 69.6% over the Tigers. So everyone's pretty bullish on South Carolina. I myself, Chris, I'm pretty bullish on the Gamecocks as well. Beamer ball is flying high down there in Columbia, South Carolina. So I am looking at them potentially winning the ball game. I haven't seen enough from Missouri this year to say that this team is going to be a playoff contender. I think they are. I think calling them a pretender is an understatement. I just don't think they got it in them this season. So, and me and you have talked about this team, Chris. They just aren't good.
they some stank. Missouri is some stank. How they are ranked in the top 25, I don't know. I don't know what the AP smoking on, but hey, send some of that my way. But they some stank. They are not it. South Carolina, they might do unspeakable things to Missouri. The things that Texas A&M did to Missouri, the things that Alabama did to Missouri. You might be seeing that again this weekend on Saturday from South Carolina, because Missouri is not good at all, and South Carolina is a very good team that very well could have 2 more wins on their record than what they already have, and could be contending for the college football playoff potentially if they had won one or both of said games. I think South Carolina puts just a WWE SmackDown on the Tigers, and this game should be a shellacking. I'm talking 42-14, 42-7 kind of beatdown, Kory.
Yeah, I'm with you, Chris. I don't think Missouri has a chance to win this ball game. It's crazy. We've seen games that Missouri have. Somehow Eli has, spread out the fairy dust, and somehow they won games that, maybe you look back and say, maybe you should have won that game. I.e. Auburn. You were reading my mind, Chris. That's why we love you. My gosh.
You were so right, though.
Yes.
You're so right.
And I think back the Vandy game. I don't think they were supposed to win that game. They won that game by a field goal.
Yeah, no, that's a very fair and valid point. Boston College game was much closer than it should have been for what we were anticipating Missouri to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the only hope in my eyes that Missouri has is the fact that this is South Carolina, respectfully.
Yeah.
South Carolina will find ways to mess up games and lose games they have no business losing. That if you talk to Gamecock fans, they will tell you. No matter they find ways to win games they got no business winning, and they find ways to lose games they got no business losing. That is the life of a South Carolina Gamecock fan. And I think that is Missouri's hope. Yes, it's. I mean, if you're not an Alabama or Georgia fan, or the 2000s Florida fan, when you're an Ole Miss, a Mississippi State, a South Carolina, an Arkansas, Kentucky, one of those middling, and Auburn fan, one of those middling tier SEC schools, your life is full of stress. You don't know what you're going to get week to week from your school over the years. We've all lived similar lives of pain and anguish and anxiety. You just have a different mascot, a different color a different shade of color that you're rooting for. And you talk to all those fan bases, they all say the same thing in respect to their school. And that holds true with South Carolina.
Yes.
And so I think that's Missouri's only hope, is if South Carolina has a South Carolina-y kind of game and keep Missouri in striking distance.
But you want to know what's the crazy thing about that, Chris, is that this game is going to be 3:15 on the SEC network. Look, the SEC network has those kinds of games. We've seen it, Chris. That time slot.
The time slot that channel, it's very reminiscent of that 11 a.m. kickoff for the Jefferson Pilot games that we grew up watching at 11 a.m.
Ain't nothing changed but the station. We still have Jefferson Pilot specials. I love it, Chris. I love it. Don't change this. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Oh my goodness! But this should not be a Jefferson Pilot special, people. But brace yourselves. As we said, crazy things can happen this weekend. So if it does end up being one, we'll enjoy it with some popcorn. But I don't anticipate it being so.
Yeah. No, I'm still looking at South Carolina to heavily win the game, but just like that Georgia game, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, man, South Carolina, this is a opportunity that they could definitely blow it at the end. So I'm definitely keeping my my eyes peeled on if that scenario happens, is that we're definitely going to be in that situation during Saturday with this game. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. If South Carolina can win this game, I think it's definitely a big turnaround for Shane Beamer and his squad, Chris. I mean, when you think about losing that Alabama game weeks before, you lose that LSU game, which was, I think, the de facto heartbreaker for South Carolina during the season. I'm sure a lot of those guys wish they had more time to get that game back, because I think they were the better team that day than LSU. So definitely winning against Missouri, top 25 team, even though I don't think that they're top 25 worthy, but it is what it is. Could definitely be something, big for South Carolina, indeed. So, you get a win against Missouri, you got to win against A&M. I mean, you're doing pretty well. You're building something at South Carolina. So,
yeah, no, they definitely got something brewing there. So, if you want to you got to keep that momentum going. You got to win games like this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, starts with these games for sure. So, yeah, we'll see what happens, Chris. Should be a fun one. I know me and you will be texting back and forth talking about this game. Just because we live for these middle of the pack games in the SEC conference. Of course, they make for great television.
They always do. Yes, indeed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But yeah, Chris, anything else you want to add to this game before we move on to our next game?
Yes, sir. We can keep it rolling.
All right. Well, folks, look, I know wherever conference that you're at, if you're not in the SEC, I know you're going to hate us for this next one. Texas goes to Arkansas, Chris. 11 a.m. kickoff on ABC. We got Arkansas. They've been not playing the best ball as of late, after beating Mississippi State, which isn't nothing to gloat over, honestly. But I will say, Taylor Green did have a great game, Chris. They lost that game against Ole Miss. It was pretty much a beatdown from beginning to the end. You got a big opportunity after you knocked down Tennessee earlier in the year to, bring in the number 3 team in the land and to potentially knock them off. For me, I'm not going to say that's going to happen. But, we've seen crazier things in this conference, Chris. So, right now, Vegas has Texas as a 16.5 point favorite to win the game, and ESPN's matchup predictor has Texas as an 85.7% chance to win as well. So the models are all looking at Texas and winning the ball game, and I'm going to be with them as well and saying I think with Quinn Ewers, what I saw from him last week against that dominant win against Florida, 49-17 back at DKR, I'm feeling this new rejuvenated Quinn Ewers, Chris. I think he's got his mojo back. I think he's all locked in now, and yeah, I mean Arkansas could slip up and really, go toe to toe with Texas. But I think Texas is just going to be too much for this Razorbacks team. I think what they do offensively as well as defensively is just going to be too much of a mismatch for Arkansas. And I think Sark and his squad is going to run away with it fairly well. But what is your take heading into this game on Saturday, Chris?
Yeah, so this is a game that I feel like Texas, on paper, should win handily. All signs are pointing towards a Texas annihilation of Arkansas. Quinn Ewers, like you mentioned, Kory, found his stride, was clicking, was looking like the guy that went up in Ann Arbor and put it on, Michigan. The offense was playing very well. Texas defense, elite D line. They limit you to not having explosive plays. They're the best defense in the nation at limiting explosives, and that's what Arkansas thrives and prides himself on, are the explosives. So, when you try to find a way that Arkansas can maybe pull off the upset, well, it's tough when, the thing that you're great at, the other defense is even better at stopping. So all signs point towards Texas controlling this game and putting a beating on Arkansas. But that's also what's scary about that, Kory. This is college football. And even when everything looks like it should go one way, you never know, because history does tell us Arkansas will beat Texas. We've seen this happen recently.
No one envisioned Arkansas beating Tennessee a couple weeks ago. So, nothing will put it past me, Chris, to see this Arkansas team somehow beat this Texas team this year. We saw it a couple years ago. These two teams played. Yeah, you could say that was a different Texas team, but Arkansas wasn't scared that night. And that game was in Fayetteville.
Exactly. So anything can happen. Would I be shocked if Arkansas beats Texas? Honestly, yeah. But Texas should control this game. It should end up being a blowout, a splattering in Fayetteville, and the fans should be able to beat traffic and get home at a decent time on Saturday. I think Arkansas gets pummeled. But I would definitely love if this ends up being a close game, Kory. I would not mind that myself. I have zero rooting interest. So bring on a good game. I just don't think it will be one.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be one either. I just think, like I said, Quinn's confidence has really shown a lot with this team and with Sark, and I think it's gotten contagious. I should say in terms of how confident he's gotten. I think the Texas team we saw earlier in the season before he got hurt, they're back. Mm-hmm. that Texas team that went up to Ann Arbor in the big house, I think this is the Texas team that we're seeing again. And that's the team that we want, because I think that team ultimately has an opportunity to win a lot of ball games this season, potentially make it to a playoff, win an SEC championship, in their first year in the SEC. So, that's one of the reasons why I'm heavily pulling for Texas in this game, just because I think they, with a couple of games left on their schedule, Chris, I think they literally see the light at the end of the tunnel. and that light is the playoffs with an opportunity to go for a national championship. So I'm definitely taking Texas to win this ball game, but who knows? Like we said, it is Arkansas, and Coach Pittman has definitely seen the Miracle Hogs show up out of nowhere. So, it wouldn't surprise me, if we do see an Arkansas team that's definitely, en route to give this Texas team a game. So, and I mean, this Arkansas team, they only need one more win to become bowl eligible. So that's one thing that they're trying to get right now, Chris, is a chance to go bowling. So, what better way in getting to a bowl game, getting those 6 wins and knocking a team like Texas?
And you need to go bowling if you're Arkansas, especially after getting the win over Tennessee, for Sam Pittman to keep the momentum rolling and secure that job. You need to go bowling. Might not happen this week, but you need to somehow, some way, clinch that up, because your job's on the line. He knows this.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. And I mean, look, I'll say this. If you beat Texas, there's no way he's going anywhere. That contract extension might happen on the field.
Yeah, they're gonna walk him to the office after the game before you leave the stadium, coach. We need you to sign something real quick. Sign right here. Just saying that you're gonna stay on for a few more years, just 3 more seasons. They're gonna go ahead and get him right that day.
They're gonna lift him up off of the king chair. They're gonna give him like one of those LeBron James king chairs. They're gonna tell him to sit down, and then they're just gonna like have like team members just like pick him up from the chair and just take him to the office. That's how you know he ain't going anywhere.
They're going to have to be some strong members, respectfully.
Oh man. Get a couple of linemen in there, they can handle it.
Yeah. You don't need some hogs. No pun intended.
Yep. Oh man, but yeah, man, it's I definitely think that this is going to also be a really good game to watch. I'm pulling for Texas to handle their business, but you never know, Chris. With Arkansas this season, they've definitely been up and down this season. So they've been close in games that they should have won. So here's to hoping we get another good game with this game this week, and see what both of these teams have to offer. But anything else you want to add to this game, Chris, before we move on to our last feature game of the week?
We keep it rolling.
Okay. All right. Well, now, folks, we are out of the SEC. we are going to finally switch gears into the Big 12 conference. Yes, that's right, folks. We have a pretty significant game, I say, in the Big 12 conference this week. Number 17, Colorado, will be hosting Utah this Saturday. It's 11 a.m. kickoff. I'm not sure if this is a big noon kickoff game. It could be. I haven't really looked at who's going to be featured for a big noon kickoff. I would suspect it is Colorado, though, because I'm
pretty sure it is.
Yeah, not really many big games going on in the Big 10 right now for this week in Week 12. But yeah, these two teams are going to be facing against one another, Chris. Colorado is a 10-point favorite by Vegas, and 74.9% in the matchup predictor through ESPN in favor of the Buffaloes. So, right now, everyone's heavily looking into what Colorado has to offer late in the season, Chris. They're playing exceptional football. They've really turned it up a notch, especially after that Kansas State loss, which I think they didn't really get smoked in that game. It was just a little bit of bad luck, of course. But since then, they've been red hot right now. Well, only one conference loss, flat out. And if they can win this game, Chris, which I think they can, they're just going to have to kind of strap in, because it's going to be a wild ride, especially what we saw last week between Utah and BYU. if they can win this game, Chris, I'm saying right now that you can lock it in. Colorado is potentially going to get that spot into the Big 12 championship game, which I would suspect will be against BYU. So, Chris, I'm going to leave the floor to you, good sir. What are your thoughts about this Colorado team? Because Coach Prime, Dion has this team playing as well as they possibly can late into the season. And I think it's going to bode well for them in the long run if they keep this up. But what are your thoughts heading into this game on Saturday?
Yeah, no, I think this Colorado team is, they're really good. You have the best player in college football in Travis Hunter. You have arguably the best quarterback in college football, Shedeur Sanders. You have two elite Sunday players on a team and in a season where it's so much parity and level play. If you have two elite talents like that, you have a chance to win any game you play in. And so I think this team has found ways to still be successful in offense, despite not being the offensive line unit that you want, but it is an improved unit. But where this team, I feel like, has really taken the next level, Kory, it's the defensive line. The D line has been a problem for opponents. They really have something cooking with that D line. The pass rush they've been able to get, and it only makes your secondary that much better when you have a pass rush. And Colorado has consistently been able to produce that. And so in this game, that will be something to keep an eye on. Shedeur and Travis will get going. They will find ways to make plays, and they won't just be stopped. But if they can make life tough on Utah, a team that traditionally already has its struggles offensively, Utah has never been a prolific, dynamic offensive, program. If they can get after the quarterback, it could be a tough day. It could be a long day for Utah. But Utah does have a lot of fight. And so I'm very curious to see how this game plays out, because despite Utah being on a losing streak, all of their losses have been close, Kory. It's not like they're just out here getting punched on and beat down. Like, they have played a lot of tight games. Even though they're 4-5, they could be 5-4. They could be 7. They could be 7-2 themselves. It's some games, a few plays here and there, and then games go a different way. They could be the team with the hopes of playing in the Big 12 championship game. So I'm not overlooking Utah by any means, but Colorado, man, credit to Coach Prime. I mean, this is I wish more people were talking about this. Everybody was so hyped for Colorado last year, but this is amazing what we're seeing happening, Kory.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you, Chris. Man, it is amazing to see what this team has been able to do, offensively, defensively. I mean, we look back last year, and we saw they were 4-8. They did get some wins. They were better than they were the year prior, and yeah, you just look at them now. Man, they really look like a complete football team with really good players from the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. This is an all around good football team, good quality football team that has a real shot at doing something special this season. So yeah, like you said,
If they make the playoff.
if they make the playoffs, which I definitely think they have that shot, Chris. If they can win Saturday, it's all there for them. They still got to
Imagine if they
play.
make the playoff and win the Big 12. They get a bye.
Yeah,
They don't have to play that first week if they win the conference.
yeah. And Coach Prime, Dion he is gunning for that. He wants that. He does not want to potentially host any game or have to go to another team's field just to go through the gauntlet in this playoff, in this inaugural playoff. So yeah, man, it would be special if they can potentially get that first round bye and they're just chilling, resting up, getting ready to go to a playoff game, a big time New Year's Six playoff game. So yeah, man, it's pretty amazing to see.
You can't you can't overstate the value of rest, especially in this 12-team playoff of getting that bye. One less battle. Because, Kory, that's what the playoff games are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Battles. This isn't no regular game. Like, it's a playoff. The level of intensity, the level of play, it all increases across the board. And if you can avoid 60 minutes of football being put on your body, by any means, you are there for it. You will take it. You want that. Because I'm just curious to see how this plays out this first year. It's very balanced across the board. There's no just straight up legitimate powerhouses. But if you are a team that was able to get rest and not have to play that first playoff game, I'm curious to see the records of those teams that have the bye. If they are the ones that ultimately, even though it's a balanced playing field and all these teams have a chance, if they end up being the ones that win just because they got to have rest.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's because they're healthier.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely something that a lot of these teams are wanting, but man, only 4 spots can get that. So
It's tough.
It is.
It's tough.
It is. But hey, that's the life you live when you're competing for the playoffs now in this 12-team format that we have. So yeah, man, it's definitely something. But if Colorado can do this, Chris, man, that would definitely increase their chances of handling business and potentially going for a national championship.
So crazy to say, but man, it's not impossible. It's truly not impossible. And if Deion Sanders leads his Colorado team to the college football playoff, Kory, he's coach of the year, right?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
We're not talking about that enough. He could be coach of the year in his second year in Colorado. This team can go from winning one game to winning potentially 10, 11 games.
It's crazy.
It is crazy, but wow, we really got to put some respect on his name. And he's really building something. Like, I know you've seen the On3 tweets.
Yeah.
And guys committing and then some guys flipping. Some Alabama guys.
Yeah.
Flipping to Colorado.
Apparently some of those recruits are going to be at this game this week. If I'm not mistaken. So what Dion is building at Colorado right now in Boulder, it's something big.
It seems like he's there for the long haul. Like, I know we teased about like some other SEC schools or other programs trying to swoop in and take him or him, bolting for another bigger and better opportunity. But I think just based, these guys are committing to come to Colorado, and he's getting some high quality talent. We're talking about 4-star, 5-star kids, legitimate program changers, program builders coming to Colorado. I think he might be there for the long haul. We'll see.
I'm starting to feel like he is. I'm starting to feel like he's already prepping up for life. After Travis Hunter and his sons. They're doing great right now in Colorado as well. But I think he's prepping up for something just as special.
And potentially better.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to patch things with the portal.
Mm-hmm.
It's another when you are hitting on 4-star and 5-star high school kids. That's how you go from having a good season to a good program.
Yeah.
And if he's bringing in these elite high school players to build and get their reps in with the program as time goes by, and build high school players into his starting offensive line group, and those guys get to be juniors, and they've been with the team for a couple of years. I know this team is doing some great things now, but it is not crazy to say that things could be even better in the future.
I know. Like, you think they're dangerous right now, folks. They could potentially be so dangerous that they could probably go all the way and become undefeated.
Be a legitimate national championship team. The way he's recruiting, especially the high school ranks right now, we're just trying to prep you guys. Colorado, I don't think they're going anywhere.
No, I don't think so either. I think they're only getting stronger at this point, Chris. And it's gonna be very interesting to see. I mean, we still got the early signing period and stuff coming up. I know you mentioned some recruits. It's about to get very interesting as we wrap up the rest of the year.
Scary hours. just look out.
Yes, I agree. Oh man, but yeah, man. I think overall, in looking at this game, I don't think with the way Utah has been playing. I know they played close against BYU. They could definitely give Colorado a game, but I think Colorado's locked in right now, and I know that they are prepared for big games like this because they've won big games like this. Last week was a big game, out in Lubbock, and they took care of business when they needed to, Chris. So I think this is a game that they understand that they need to win in order to fulfill their destiny in getting to college football playoffs. So, guys like Travis Hunter, Shadur, Shallow's been playing really good football as of late. We talk about guys like Cameron, Silman Craig, the Kai Hill Green, all of these guys that have been contributing to this great defense for Colorado, Chris. They're definitely stepping up and making plays when they need to win these ball games. But yeah, man, it should be a fun one indeed. So, anything else you want to add, Chris, to this game?
No, sir. I think we've covered it. Like I said, man, Utah, pesky team.
Yeah.
I think Colorado handles them. But we talk about the weekend that there's upset potential in a lot of games. Utah's a tough group that's going to challenge Colorado's will in this game. And it's going to be up to Colorado to stomp them out and make sure they don't, make this game closer than it should be. It's going to be up to Colorado to up their play and really, throttle this team and come away with a victory. And so we'll see. We will see what happens, but it'll be a good challenge for the Buffs.
Yeah, and I can't wait to watch this game, of course, because it's always great to watch more Colorado football. So yeah, I think Utah definitely going to give their best shot, best go at it. But overall, I am picking Colorado to win the ball game. So yeah, Chris. So yeah, man, should be a fun one indeed. But anything else you want to add before we move on to Bolton's bets?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right, folks. Well, you know what time it is. We're at that point of the show where we have Bolton's bets. You know what it is, where Chris gives you his top games for this week in week 12 of the college football season. You want to make some money, you want to put a little money in your pocket. Chris is your man to give you that crystal ball, to show you the light, to help you, win the big bucks for this week. So, Chris, I'm going to go ahead, good sir, give you the mic. Let the good people know what games you got for this week in week 12.
Yeah, so, we're going to start things off with a primetime matchup, 7:30 Eastern Time, ABC, Tennessee at Georgia. Like you mentioned, Georgia, 8.5-point favorites. This is a toss-up game. And, there is the world where Georgia does cover. But regardless of who is quarterbacking this matchup, I think it's a close game. And so we're going to roll with Tennessee and we'll take those 8.5 points. So that's the first one we have. Also, can't believe I'm doing this, but we're gonna do it. I think South Carolina is one of the 15 best teams in the nation. I think Missouri should be far, far away from the top 25. I know South Carolina is already 14-point favorites. I think that the Missouri they've been exposed, but it's about time that everybody wakes up and smells the coffee and understands that Missouri is not a good team. I don't care that they are 7-2. In those two games that they lost, they got thoroughly embarrassed by teams that were any good. And I think South Carolina will add their name to the list of teams that put a beat down on Missouri. We're taking South Carolina to cover the 14-point spread. And lastly, this is gonna shake the table a little bit, Kory.
Uh-oh.
You know I've been Mr. BYU all season long.
Yes, sir, you have.
Love the Cougs. Shout out to all my people that are BYU fans. We take on Kansas this weekend. Kansas, 3-6. It's been a down year for the Jayhawks, but they have played in a lot of close games. And this is a Kansas team that looks to be finding its way. When you look at the trajectory of how the season has played out, you lose a tough battle to Illinois. We know that Illinois is a good team.
Yeah.
Lost a tough battle to Illinois at Illinois. Mm-hmm. You lost a tough, lost by 6 points. You lost by 3 points to UNLV. UNLV is another really good team that's been challenging as a Group of 5 team to try to bust their way into the playoff. Mm-hmm. They are one of the better Group of 5 teams in the nation. Mm-hmm. You lost that game by 3. You lost by 4 at West Virginia. West Virginia is a tough place to play at. 38-27, you lost to TCU. Then you lose at Arizona State, 35-31. Arizona State's a ranked team, a good ball club. You beat Houston, finally get over the hurdle there, lose a close one, 29-27 in a rivalry game at K-State, but you turn around and you beat Iowa State. BYU has somehow, some way figured out ways to escape losses and just find a way to win. I think that time has finally caught up to them. I think BYU not only does not cover the 2.5 point spread, I think BYU loses. Give me Kansas. Forget the points. 2.5 point spread. Forget the points. Give me Kansas money line. Oh. The Jayhawks are playing some of their best football of the season as of late. This is a team that runs the football well. They pride themselves on their rushing attack. I think they will limit the possessions in this game. I think Jalon Daniels will continue to do his thing. I think Devin Neal is a problem. He is like that at the running back position, and he'll have a big game in this one. I see him rushing for over 100 yards. I think Kansas wins a tough, hard-fought game. 24-21, walk-off field goal. Give me the Jayhawks going to BYU and getting the win.
Wow, walk-off field goal. You're really looking at this game as being a fight to the end. You know what, Chris? I think I gotta go with that, man. If you haven't been watching Kansas, folks, Kansas have definitely been playing some really good football these last several weeks. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Jayhawks can pull off the upset against a BYU team that's starting to, I don't know, Chris, it seems like they're starting to lose their steam. They
got the gates hot, but things have got a little shaky the last few weeks.
Yeah. I mean, they were whipping people up and down the field earlier in the season. It just seems like, the tank is on E. Now, I think they got it all out of the system.
Some penalties, to go your way. You needed a come from behind drive in another game. I mean, it's
interesting.
It hasn't been pretty.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been pretty. So give me the Jayhawks, man. I think they'll put a nice little bow on Saturday, with them being a late night game and complete Saturday with a huge upset, and just add more chaos to the year of 2024. That's more and more by the week, just giving us the 07 vibes you spoke of before the season, Kory.
Yeah. I mean, it just comes with the territory at this point of the season, Chris. I mean, as we're winding down, we're seeing a lot of these teams all beat up on each other, to be honest with you. But man, it definitely wouldn't surprise me if we saw a couple upsets that we would have to take off our rose-colored glasses of some of our respective teams and say, "What? How did that happen?"
You're right, and just you get more film. Later in the season, you get more film. You can really pick and find teams' weaknesses. So, everybody knows what you do by this point of the season.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of, can we stop you from doing it? So
right.
We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, we will. We will indeed. But yeah, another great Bolton's bets for us, everyone. So, if you want to make some money, you want to, hit that parlay for the week, want to go money line, you want to put a little extra money in your pocket, Chris is your man. He has you covered for sure. So Chris, we appreciate you always, good sir, with another successful segment in Bolton's Bets. Yeah. Well, Chris, before we head out of here, I had a couple of other games real quickly that just kind of throw out here. So I know, of course, we got that one Group of Five playoff spot in this inaugural playoff race, the 12-team playoff. Just a couple games this week that piqued my interest. We got Tulane going to Navy. Tulane's been playing some really good football, Chris. Navy, they also been playing some really good football. Granted, they did, lose to Rice and they lost to Notre Dame as well. But for the most part, Navy still had a pretty good season. What are your thoughts about this game? Because both teams are pretty good. Do you think that there's a possible way for Tulane to try to make a name for themselves in this playoff race?
Yeah, no, Tulane, I think they do win this game. This is hey man, they got John Summerall.
Yeah,
I know all about John Summerall. Former coach at Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
He won't be at Tulane long. He's doing his thing there. He already got these guys clicking and rolling, and they're a well coached team.
Mm-hmm.
Very tough defensively. And I think they'll be playing some sound defense and slow down that rushing attack for Navy. And I think we're gonna see if Navy can play from behind. And I'm not sure just how good Navy is for playing from behind, but I like Tulane come away with the win.
Yeah. I think this Tulane team has a lot riding on this game. Of course, they're ranked 25 in the country right now, so they're definitely looking at some of the other teams out there that are trying to jockey for position in getting a playoff spot. So yeah, we'll definitely see what happens with that game. A couple others, Chris. We got Boise State versus San Jose State. This one should be an interesting game. Emmett Brown, not many people talk about Emmett Brown for San Jose State, but he's a pretty good quarterback for the Spartans. So, we all know about Ashton Gianti and what he brings to the table. So, is there anything about this game, Chris, that concerns you with Boise State? Because right now Janty's been still playing really good football. I'm starting to kind of feel like he is starting to kind of slow down just a little bit. But are there anything is there anything that you see about this game that could threaten Boise State in terms of their playoff chances this week?
You are definitely right there. Something that concerns me. I'm not calling for the upset, but like you said, Emmett Brown is a very competent quarterback, and this game is at San Jose State.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, Boise has slowed down a little. I want to say last week's game was a nail biter.
Yeah.
Against Nevada.
Yeah, 28-21.
Yeah. Look, man, it's November.
Yeah.
It's November.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't care what your November schedule looks like. As long as you're playing conference games in November, it's going to be tough. You're at the end of the season. Your body's hurting. You're tired. You're beat down. Everybody's going to, especially if you're Boise, you are the crown jewel. You're going to get everybody's best game, and you are going to San Jose State.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be surprised if Boise does not cover. Don't be surprised if this is a game, like a legitimate back and forth affair. I'm not picking Boise to lose, but I will be tuned in because I think this will be a game, Kory.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, Emmett Brown, I remember him against Washington State earlier in the season. It was like a late night Friday game, and man, he was going back and forth with the Cougars. So he's definitely not a quarterback I would take lightly in the Mountain West. So
no, for sure. So yeah, this will be a solid. This will be a solid matchup. Like you said, man, there's not too many premier games, but there's enough. There's enough meat on the bone. You know, there's a little something there that'll be able to. If you're a little hungry, it'll take care of you. You know what I'm saying? It's some appetizers out there, enough appetizer games to fill you up and be a full meal.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chris. I think that there's definitely some games out there that I think the country needs to be looking out for, because I mean, these teams out here are potentially jockeying for that last spot in the playoff race. So they could be going up against some of these heavyweights out here if they play their cards right. So we'll see where it goes. But the last two games that I had, Chris, UAB heading to Memphis. Memphis is an 8-2 football team right now. They're not ranked or anything, but I still think that there's an outside shot if they play their cards right and they win out. Maybe they can, hope for maybe a Boise State going down, and they maybe can get into the playoff rankings, late in the season and try to make something shake. So I personally think the Tigers aren't necessarily out of it yet, but we'll see what happens with that. And then the last one, we got number 18 Washington State taking on New Mexico. I think Washington State's going to win this game heavily. I like what John Bader brings to the table with his legs and with his arm, Chris. So in terms of Washington State and Memphis, do you agree or disagree, Chris? What are your thoughts? Do you think both of these teams have kind of an outside chance of, seeing disaster strike and maybe like, hey, we got a shot?
On Washington State, they're 8-1. Like you said, it's November.
Mm-hmm.
It is November, and Washington State's been playing some good ball.
Yeah.
They can close the season strong and just sit back and hope disaster strikes Boise. And they can finagle their way into this thing, because they very well can. That's the team to look out for, because they can put up points with anybody. They have a really good offense.
Yeah.
Memphis does too. But like Washington State's been a really good offensive team this year, and they're in prime position. The schedule isn't too crazy. New Mexico is a solid team. Oregon State, team you're very familiar with from the Pac-12 conference, and then also you finish at home against Wyoming. Wyoming hasn't been any good at all. So the schedule favors you, and you just want to sit back and watch the dominoes fall.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Chris. Man, everything is right in front of Washington State. Everything's right in front of Memphis, I think, as well. I mean, let me look at their schedule right quick. They have UAB coming up this Saturday, and their last game is against number 25 Tulane, and they have to travel to Tulane. So that's definitely going to be interesting, Chris. If they went out, I think Memphis can be a ranked team, a 10-2 football team, possibly. As I'm kind of looking through just the standings in the American Conference.
Are they second in the American, or let me see? A fourth in the American. Okay.
Yeah. Navy and Tulane play against each other this week. If Memphis wins against UAB, that will bode well for them. And you gotta travel to Tulane. If they can win that game, maybe they can try to make something shake and potentially get an opportunity to get into the American Championship. So it's a lot. They have like an outside chance of it happening because you still got Army and Navy battling out against each other. You know, that will handle itself. All Memphis has to do is potentially win out. Same thing with Tulane. So it's a lot. It's a lot.
It is. We'll see how it plays out. But like you said, all you can do is just control what you can control.
Yeah. So, man, that's all. That's the name of the game at the end of the day. Control with what you can control. So it's going to be interesting. Definitely going to keep my eye out on this because all of these teams that we mentioned have been playing pretty good football, and time will tell to see who can jockey for position for that last spot in the college football playoffs. So, all right. But other than that, Chris, another great show, sir.
Yes, sir.
I always appreciate you having you here talking college football.
Hey, and another great show in the books, and hopefully the show lives up to what we have in store this weekend. You know, I think it'll surprise people just how fun and crazy this weekend gets. You know, it's gonna. We try to pin down what we feel like will be the big upsets, but I'm sure, Kory, that there's some upsets that will happen that nobody will see coming.
You're right. You're right. And look, we talk about it all the time, Chris. That's why you play the game at the end of the day. So, you know, hats off to a lot of these teams this week that are, you know, trying to keep their playoffs alive, and some of the teams out there that are just trying to make it to a bowl game this week. You know, this is probably the most entertaining part of college football in the month of November. When we see the month of November arrive, you know, so many twists and turns and just entertaining finishes that we all remember. So it definitely comes with the territory of being a college football fan. You know, you get to see all of these great shenanigans and finishes and stuff. It makes for great television.
You're right, man. You are right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, man, it's another great episode. We'll be back here, folks, again on Monday to talk about all of these games. But before we head out of here today, Chris, outro, sir, let the good people know where they can find you on social media.
Yes, sir. Y'all can find me on Instagram at Chris.Bolton_ and on X at Chris_Bolton_12. Holla at your boy. You know, we got us a great weekend in college football. As you're listening to this, you're probably getting ready to go out to the bars or go somewhere and watch the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson squabble on Friday night. And on Saturday, John Jones is taking on Stipe, and hopefully, you know, I'm gonna be rooting for Stipe because I think John Jones is ducking Tom Aspinall. But hey, hopefully we get that John Jones Aspinall fight. That's what the people deserve. That's what the streets are fiending for, Kory. We need Aspinall against Jones. That's the fight. That's the real fight.
That's the fight.
That's the fight. Right, the people need, but you know we'll watch John Jones take on Stipe, two guys who are great in UFC, history taking on each other. And so it's a good weekend. It's a good weekend. So yeah, you'll catch me on X talking about all that.
Yeah. Yeah, should be a great weekend in college football and NFL and mixed martial arts indeed. So yeah, yes sir. I know you'll definitely be talking about it on
Oh
the
man, my
interwebs.
it's gonna be too much. It's gonna be too much going on.
I know that's what makes for a great sports weekend.
And you're right. You're right.
So yeah, definitely follow Chris on social media, and you can follow me on X as well at Listen to KSW, all one handle. I'm on there talking college football, professional wrestling. NBA is back. I see your boy Steph, Chris, doing work out here.
Oh yeah, we're back, baby. The Dubs are back.
They are back. They are back indeed. So yeah, y'all definitely follow me on there as well. So, but yeah, folks, as always, we appreciate you guys listening in on the show. As always, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Like I said earlier, on multiple streaming platforms that we're on, and social media apps that we are also on as well. So other than that, we appreciate you guys listening in. We'll be back on Monday to talk about the week that was in week 12 of the college football season. So be sure to tune in to that. But until next time, I'm Kory Willis. He's Chris Bolton. You are listening to the Breakdown Sportscast. We will catch y'all later. Peace.
Peace.